Am I the a-hole for moving on with my life after my brother's death? I, 18M, have 3 brothers. My 21 brother and my 25 older brother. My 25-year-old brother recently passed away. He had severe cerebral palsy and had many developmental problems. He couldn't move on his own, speak, or feed himself without help. He needed constant attention from someone else for everything. But he was my mom's pride and joy. The whole house revolved around him. He had fixed schedules for his medications, physical therapy routines, weekly doctor's appointments, checkups with specialists, adjustments to his diet, and emergencies due to infections or respiratory problems. That's how my other brother and I grew up. My mom always put him first. She really had my other brother and me so that we could take care of my older brother when she and dad were gone. She has admitted this to us on several occasions. And for me, it was never a problem, it never bothered me, I always understood. But my other older brother always complained about how everyone's life in the house had to revolve around my brother. And it's true, our life did have to revolve around him. I don't really have any happy memories with my older brother. I remember him suffering a lot. He was always crying and complaining. Sometimes for no apparent reason, other times because something was clearly hurting him. And it hurt me to see him like that. I didn't know what to do, I couldn't help him. My mom wouldn't let us spend too much time with him. She said we were too young, that we could hurt him without meaning to, or that he needed peace and quiet. So we only saw him occasionally. When my older brother passed away 4 months ago, it was devastating. It was horrible, very sad. But at the same time, I felt a peace I had never felt before. Not just for us, but for him. Because for the first time in my entire life, I was certain that he was no longer suffering. My dad said he was finally resting. And my 21-year-old brother and I felt the same way, although neither of us dared to say it in front of Mom. My mom couldn't see it that way. For her, her son was still her reason for living. She cried all the time, talked to him, kept his room intact, and asked us not to touch anything. We understood, we all did. But about 3 weeks ago, my dad, my brother, and I decided to go to the movies. It was the first time the 3 of us had done something alone since everything happened. And it was nice. Strange, but nice. For the first time in a long time, I felt like a family. But when we got home, my mom was waiting for us in the living room, and as soon as she saw us, she started yelling. She said we were insensitive, that how could we think of going out to have fun after everything that had happened. She said we had betrayed her and my brother. My dad argued with her, as did my brother, who reproached her for always neglecting us. I also joined the discussion. I'm not minimizing what happened or my mom's feelings. But I don't think I acted insensitively either. Even so, am I the a-hole? NTA, and sadly, she doesn't know how to function without your brother. Her life had revolved around him 100%, and now that he is gone, she doesn't know what to do. Everyone grieves differently, and for her, it is going extremely hard to move past the death of her son. It is perfectly normal to live life after someone passes away. As hard as it may be, life does go on. And either you go with it or you are going to miss out. First of all, I'm sorry for your loss, and I'm also happy for you that you feel ready to turn the page and continue on your life's timeline. You have such a strong and intuitive sense of empathy that I admire. Anyway, NTA. Your mom is losing grip on reality. She needs help. I think a bit of it might be a loss of purpose. She invested all her effort and energy into him, and it's rattling for her to suddenly have all that time back, on top of losing the thing she thought was going to occupy and define her until she died. Was she prepared for that contingency? As I understand, people with CP pass at a young age. Wouldn't she have prepped herself for that? Please forgive the intrusive question. OP replies, thank you very much for your condolences and your kind words. Smile. I really appreciate them. Don't worry about the question. And yes, we were always prepared for my brother's early death. Even when we were very young, we were told about the high probability of it happening. But my mom decided to ignore that for a while. I guess it was her way of coping with the fact that her son might die young, but we were always prepared. We even went to therapy for a while, but my mom stopped. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking why my coworker wears makeup every day? Howdy, never posted here, throwaway account, yada yada yada. So I, 29M, was at work during a pretty long meeting with a few other coworkers. One of my coworkers is new, late 30s F, and the conversation steered around our professional experiences and history. Pretty standard, I guess. Midway during reviewing some boring stuff, this coworker asked me with a smirk, "Can I ask you a question?" Since we were talking about our professional lives, I was like, yeah, sure, what's up? And she followed up with, why do you always wear hats? Now, I'll be honest, I'm bald, however I like my baldness. I started balding at 21 and I was like, F that, and just shaved it off instead of trying to style my hair in any way to hide it. Also, since my hair is super curly and compact, it just wasn't going to be an option. In college people loved it, said I had a good head shape and said I looked like Terry Crews, Shaquille O'Neal or The Rock, not sure about that last one lol, so I was pretty confident with it. But when I turned 25 I started being mistaken for 30 cause of the bald cut, so I started wearing hats pretty much everywhere. Grew a collection for all situations, work, gym, social life. Anywhere besides weddings and funerals tbh. And with hats on at 29 I've been mistaken to be as young as 22, not the goal but yeah. The plan was to wear them until 30 and then cut back when my head matched my age lol. Anyways, this coworker asks, why do you wear hats every day? To be fair, it's a corporate setting but it's also tech, we're in marketing and it's 2025, so smart casual is the rule of thumb and my bosses don't care and dress in hoodies and hats to work some days. I responded, I like hats, and she said, but every day? So I said, yeah, I'm bald, I like my head shape but I don't want to look like I'm 35, so I'll wear hats for now, plus I look good in them. Now I wasn't thinking, and she's probably around this 35 age or older, so I may have offended her with that, but she replied, 29 and wearing hats every day to hide? Wow. This struck a nerve with me, so I responded, well, since joining I've seen you wear makeup every day, even casual Fridays or on your work from home team calls, so why do you wear makeup every day? There was a muffled giggle, but it's clear the atmosphere was tense. She got heated and said, that's a sexist question, and I said, how? Other women in the office don't wear makeup every day and my boyfriend sometimes wears makeup when we go out to a high-class event. He just doesn't do it every day. So why do you wear makeup every day? She got heated and silent, and one of the other coworkers went back to focusing on the deck. I feel like her and I not on the best of terms now, as she will not talk to me now. So, am I the a-hole for asking why my coworker wears makeup every day? Everyone sucks here. She was being inappropriate, but you were at work. The way to come out of that interaction in the clear is to say something like, as interesting as it is, I think we've talked about my hat enough for the day, what's everyone doing on the weekend? Not to be equally weird to prove a point. There's no air horns, nobody's going to clap. Everyone sucks here. Her first question wasn't rude. Benefit of the doubt, it's genuine curiosity. Her follow-up question sounded a bit judgmental, still not a-hole behavior though. Her comment at then end though, very asshole, why? Your question was only designed to hit back at her, so a-hole. For your information, men being bald is nowhere near as stigmatized as women not wearing makeup in the workplace. Next story. Am I the a-hole for letting my daughter stay with me and my wife after she found out that her mom lied to her? My ex and I have a 12-year-old daughter, Olivia, with autism level 2. My ex has primary custody and I have Olivia on Wednesdays and every other weekend. A few months ago my ex told me she was feeling a little burnt out, so she wanted us to keep Olivia from Wednesday to Sunday so she could go on a trip with some friends. Olivia is very attached to her mom, so my ex told Olivia that it was a work trip and she had to go. Last week one of my ex's friends was at the house with my ex and Olivia, and their vacation somehow came up. Olivia figured out that the vacation was the work trip that her mom told her about and freaked out because her mom lied to her and her mom doesn't lie. She hid in her room for the rest of the day, then called me and asked me to come get her. She's been with us ever since. She's really upset about this. She cries all the time because she wants her mom, but she doesn't know what else her mom lied about and she doesn't trust her. Apparently Olivia's aide called my ex because she's been having a hard time in school, so now my ex-wife is demanding that I send Olivia home so they can get back to her routines and start working with her therapist to help her get over this, but I told her Olivia will go back when she's ready. Now she's threatening to call the police and or take me back to court over custodial interference, even though we've always had a very friendly co-parenting relationship. My wife thinks we should send her back to avoid drama, but I think it should be Olivia's choice. Am I the a-hole for refusing to send her back after she found out her mom lied to her? Yes. You're the a-hole, you're blowing it way out of proportion and you need to let her mom talk to her and resolve the issue. And from a legal standpoint, no, you can't withhold her daughter from her for literally months. I'm actually appalled you think you have a good co-parenting relationship, yet this is how you deal with a problem and you think that benefits your daughter. You're the a-hole. I'm autistic and so is my kid. Both of us would find this kind of lie upsetting, but it needs to be dealt with, and you refusing to send her home is making it worse. You went along with the lie as well. You have always had a good co-parenting relationship up until this point, so don't F it up now. Have your ex over to your home and present a united front. Mom shouldn't have lied about why she was going away and I shouldn't have gone along with it. We're sorry sometimes grown-ups screw up. We need to get back to our normal routine now, so you're going home with mom. You're the a-hole and you know it. Work with the mother of your child on this one. She lied to smooth things over. You'd ought to explain to your daughter that her mother was trying her best. Next story. Am I the a-hole for causing a scene at my in-laws' anniversary dinner over my brother-in-law's racist comments? I, female 30 years, and my husband, male 32 years, have been married for 4 years and have a son, soon turning 1. We are really close with my husband's older brother. He is really cool and we love hanging out with him. However, I have never really gotten along with his younger brother, let's call him Mark, because, among many other reasons, he has a tendency of putting out racist, sexist or otherwise inappropriate comments. Dare to say, our values and morals simply don't align, but over the years I have learnt to bite my tongue and ignore the comments and to act civil around him in family gatherings. Things have however changed since having a child, as I do not want him to be exposed to this kind of racist talk, especially from an uncle who should act as a role model to our son. I talked to my husband about this issue and asked him to have a discussion with Mark that we do not allow this kind of talk around our child, as we want to raise him to respect people with different ethnicities, genders, sexual orientations, etc. My husband agreed and promised to talk to Mark about it, or at the very least, intervene if Mark does this ever again in the presence of our son. A few days ago we went over to my in-laws' house for their wedding anniversary dinner. Everyone was having a great time up until Mark had had a couple of glasses of wine and begun with his racist slurring yet again. I'll spare you from the details, but let me tell you, it was bad. I looked over to my husband, expecting him to do or say something, but he did nothing, just sipped his wine in silence. I felt this sudden rage and couldn't hold it in any longer and angrily hissed at Mark something along the lines of, "Will you shut the F up if you have nothing smarter to say?" The whole room went dead silent and you could cut the atmosphere with a knife. It was so awkward for everyone. We finished our meal quickly and went home as soon as we could, me still boiling inside from anger over the whole situation and how my husband didn't stand up to me against his brother. Yesterday my husband received an angry text from my mother-in-law, stating I had ruined their anniversary dinner by lashing out at Mark at the table like that. I understand her being upset since the dinner was to celebrate their marriage and the conflict ruined the mood for everyone, and now there is this big drama in the family over what happened. I agree that the timing was not great and that I could have rephrased myself in a more constructive way, but at the same time, I could not take it anymore and felt I had to put a stop to it once and for all. So am I the a-hole? P.S. English is not my first language, so please forgive me if the grammar isn't always a 100%. Hot tip: if you are sitting at a table where everyone else can abide the bigotry with just a sip of wine, then there are more bigots at the table than the guy yelling. Genuinely let it settle that the singular cuss word you used is perceived as more offensive than his tirade. NTA, but this is your child's family, that you have picked for them, for who will quietly sit by while the younger brother spouts his opinions. Not to be offensive, but including you up until your kid was born. Why would they think your child is a valid excuse for this man to stop the behavior they haven't set meaningful boundaries around all his life? I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel. Our posts